I wanted to take a minute and talk to you all about riding gear and pre-prep for rides, especially since I'm putting content out around the Ninja 400. There's probably a lot of newer riders with that classification of folks who are buying these bikes. It is a very good starter bike, right? And so I just wanted to make sure we go over and cover some of the stuff that I see people not do, that as a more experienced rider myself, I wouldn't leave the house without. So let's kind of go over some things here. I always think of it as if I come off the bike, like I could be going down like to the gas station and back, right? And if I come off the bike, you know, what's going to hit the surface, what's going to happen, you kind of have to prep in your mind with these kind of things, like, and just hope it never happens. So I first want to talk about a helmet. Just make sure, like, I've got stickers on this thing, whatever, but just make sure it's DOT approved, right? This is a fly racing helmet. It's like, I don't know, $120, $130, doesn't break the bank. What I will say is with these helmets, a lot of folks wear tinted visors. Just depends on when you're going to be riding, right? So some people, you know, this one happens to have like the flip, so it's got a tint visor that flips down, that's built into the helmet, integrated inside. I like that a little bit better. It's not the best. It's not as good as having a tinted visor, but I do not ride with a tinted visor because I tend to ride sort of in the afternoon, and there's been a few times where it's pretty much been dark when I got home, so not trying to do all that and not be able to see, or have to flip the visor up, and kind of defeats the purpose. There's a lot of noise in this helmet. I am deaf when I get off the bike with this thing, so I'll probably get a different helmet at some point. Airflow is good. There's a lot of ducts and stuff like that. Seems very aerodynamic, so it kind of fits in with everything. What I will say too, the other bad habit that I see is folks wearing a helmet, but they don't latch it underneath, so the chin strap, I mean, it takes 2 seconds, guys, and if you come off the bike, that helmet is not going to stay on your head. So just make sure that you're strapping this in, and I button mine down too, because what will happen is the strap will flap around, and you know, I can hear it smack into the helmet, right? And it's very annoying when I'm riding. So just make sure you're doing those things like preventative protective gear. With the gloves, so I used to ride with like dirt bike gloves because they're comfortable, and then I got to thinking, I was watching like MotoGP, some of that stuff, and it's like, man, these guys come off at like 100 miles an hour and they get up pretty much unscathed, right? And the reason that's happening is because they have, you know, armored equipment that they're wearing. So if you think about hitting the ground, these are, I don't know how well you can see that, but these are leather, perforated leather, so they breathe really well. It doesn't really matter the name brand as long as you're not getting something that's super like Chinese knockoff that's just going to fall apart. But these are leather reinforced gloves, so you can see additional padding, things like that, that go clear up over the wrist. And they have armored fingers, you know, armored knuckles and everything on them. This particular pair, if I didn't realize that like the ring finger and the pinky finger were sewn together, and that's for like, you know, grabbing the brake and clutch with 2 fingers. That's typically how I ride. But I will say when I come to a stoplight that I know I'm going to be sitting there for a minute, I do, you know, pull in the clutch all the way and hold it in first gear, and that's just for safety, right? So in case I have to sort of power out of a situation, if somebody's not stopping behind me or I need to move the bike. And so they're uncomfortable for that, I will say. So be careful around what you buy there. I didn't realize that these were sewn together. It was not a huge deal. You know, wrist grips, or I'm sorry, wrist pads come integrated into these. And they're actually, the air flows through them really well. So these are around $100. I think I got these off Amazon or Revzilla. I can't remember. So I have an Alpine Stars, more of a track jacket, right? So it's got the hump, and I like the hump, but here's something I don't like about it. I actually bought a ZX10, and that will be in some new videos coming up. And the riding position is so aggressive on the ZX10 that the back of my helmet consistently rests on the hump, which is what it's for, really. But the jacket is about 1 size smaller than what I should have gotten. And so it rides up a little bit, and I constantly end up pushing my head back to push the hump kind of in the jacket back down a little bit. So I fight that a little bit. I'm still getting used to it. But you know, this is not protection. A lot of folks think that this is some sort of protective pad. You know, that's not the case. It's strictly for aerodynamics. So when you're talking about protective pads, we're talking, you know, the elbow reinforced, right? It's got reinforced armor, CE armor inside the forearm. It's got shoulder armor. And then I think there's some padding in the front. So yeah, it's I'm not saying you have to get exactly what I'm getting or anything like that. I'm just covering the basics here of what I go out with. Now, I see a lot of like younger folks go out with you know, holes in their jeans and their knees hanging out, or shorts on, or a hoodie or something like that. You know, you just got to think of it as, if I come off this bike, what's going to happen, right? So a t-shirt where your skin's exposed, you can watch online any YouTube video where somebody crashes on a bike and it shows them getting back up. Their arms and elbows are completely skinned. So just know what's going to touch the ground when you come off the bike. This is kind of the minimum that I go out with. And then typically I have like heavyweight denim, and what I should be wearing every time are these. So these are just not the best riding jeans. And let me kind of go over what I bought. So these are just a pair off Amazon, right? Whatever. And they came with Chinese pads. These are like foam pads. And I bought CE armor. And I think these, I can't remember if these are level 2. I don't remember. I'd have to look. But I actually double them up. And so same thing with the hip pads. They came with like a little foam protector thing, and then I have CE armor on the hips as well. Now, that weighs down the jeans really bad, right? So they're heavy. It's like having, you know, 5, 6 cell phones in your pockets, right? It pulls the pants a little bit. Doesn't affect me while I'm riding or anything like that, but I know I'm kind of protected there with the armor. It'd be safe to pull these out and go with straight, you know, the CE armor on there, but I just double them up. That's just my personal preference. The one thing I will say is, if you get a pair of jeans, make sure that you spend a little bit more money if you can afford it, and get Kevlar reinforced, so you can tell this is just regular denim. That's not going to help you too much. If you land on your butt, that's definitely scraping right through. So I just kind of wanted to go over, guys, again, the basics of what you should go out with. Folks ride with earbuds in, listening to music. Folks ride with hearing protection in because they've got a straight pipe exhaust. Those things will kill you. So you kind of got to find a good balance between what other folks are doing and what you're cognizant of around you, and kind of your situational awareness, right? So I would love to have a pair of earplugs in while I'm riding with this, just because the helmet doesn't sit flush around my ear to where it you know, curbs out the road noise and the wind especially. Again, for me, that's I just want to be able to hear, you know, somebody honking a horn or whatever it might be, something coming up beside me. You just got to think about safety and having fun and coming home, right? So anyways, folks, that's all I got for today. And if you have any questions, comments around any of this, just let me know.